Welcome, everybody. This is the launch of the first white paper, Why Great Student Leaders Quit, which sounds quite dramatic. I'll admit that straight off the top of the hour. Part of naming the white paper that way was so when we reached out to the amazing contributors, and as you'll see very shortly, there are 16 different contributors to this white paper with more than 150 years of combined experiences in residential colleges and accommodation. So you're getting 150 years of wisdom compressed into 13 pages. We titled the white paper that because we realized that one of the things that staff were struggling with, one of the things that student leaders were struggling with, is this idea of burnout. That we have great student leaders that so much time and effort and energy goes into getting them in our colleges and accommodation in the first place, building a culture on the shoulders of so many people who've stood before us to make them want to run for leadership roles. I think sometimes that can be skipped over. A lot of work goes into actually getting them to run, to selecting them, electing them, training them. Then they get in the great roles and positions they're in, and some of them quit. So what we wanted to look at here after speaking with lots of different students and lots of different staff in accommodation was to figure out, why do students quit? How do we lose them? What goes wrong? And most importantly, how do we support them so that we don't lose them? So today, if you're joining us, thank you very much for being here. We're a huge believer that we want to share the wisdom of the crowd, and thank you to many of the contributors that are here. I know some people on this call haven't met everybody else on this call, so if you could please pop those cameras on, that would be wonderful to see everyone. I feel like I'm rousing on a group of students that we work with to put your cameras on. This is a lunch and learn, and I'm not going to give you a 30-minute lecture. I'm only going to speak at you for 6 more minutes or so. So please feel free to be eating your lunch in the background. But it's a long way of saying it's really nice to connect, and we're going to connect with some new faces here. Can you please do me a huge favor? In the chat, can you give me a smiley face, just like this? Yes, I instructed how to give a smiley face. Can you give me a smiley face in the chat if there is someone here on this call today that you've never met before? We've got a pretty niche audience. People who work and live potentially in student colleges or student accommodation. Can you give me a smiley face here if there's someone you haven't met? Awesome. And I love that the first smiley face there was Jacob. G'day, Jacob. How are you? Current sitting president of APSA. So if you're not familiar with Jacob, you're not familiar with APSA, an organization that we highly, highly recommend reaching out to. We actually had Laura, who's the former president of APSA, as one of the contributors to the white paper. So you're going to hear some of those insights there. And we've got Gemma as well, who's very heavily involved. Why do those smiley faces matter? We believe more than anything, it's about connection and relationships. What we teach our students is that the quality of your relationships will govern the quality of your life. The beauty of residential colleges and accommodation, the magic is that we bring brilliant people together and we're all better for it. That's the whole ethos of this white paper, bringing people together around a common challenge and common solutions. So without too much further ado, can you give me a yes in the chat if you're ready to just dive in, figure out what's in the white paper, grab your copy, and if you stay all the way to the end, I know I sound like a YouTube video, if you stay all the way to the end of this, we have 7 additional bonuses for you as a result of coming for today. Okay, cool. Yeah, with big exclamation marks, Jordan there in the chat. Beautiful. All right, let's rock and roll. So let's share with you a little bit of the white paper. So first and foremost, I'm going to put a link in the chat to download a copy of the white paper. So it's freely available up on the website. All you need to do is name an email so you can download a copy, pop that in, and you can download a free copy of the white paper. If you click on that link, it should take you straight through. One of the things you might notice there, and I'm just going to share my screen, so forgive me if this interrupts your clicking through. When I share my screen here, one of the things that you may see, if I get my little red pen, is that, so you just enter your details here and then hit download and it'll automatically download the PDF of the white paper. One of the things you might see is we've also recorded an audio version. So on our podcast, I sat down this morning, I read through the whole white paper top to bottom. I think I only found 2 or 3 typos. I wrote it, so fixed up those typos, re-uploaded it here. So if you catch any, let me know. There is an audio version. So if you enjoy the white paper, it's great because you can search it. There's an audio version that you can freely listen to there as well. So I'll stop sharing my screen, just making sure that you can enter those and download it. Can someone just unmute themselves? I'd love to hear your voice. Shout out and let me know if that download's working for you. Yep, seeing some nods there. Cool. Jess is giving me a big nod.
Yep, it's working.
Mara, okay, beautiful. So you now have a copy of the white paper. So what's the white paper? I'm going to share a copy on my end, so you can have one for your own keeping. 2 things at the end that I'd really recommend doing. This came from some of our interviews. The first one, I hope you can consume it, enjoy it, see some things there. It should be a nod-along resource. You should read it and go, yeah, I've experienced that. I see that. We do that. But also there should be some things involved that perhaps you either don't do or haven't heard of before. So hopefully there's some learning there. The second thing that's in the white paper, and I'm going to direct you to a particular page in a moment. Second thing I heard from one of the college deans was she said to me in our interview, she said, Josh, I'm a busy person. Can you give me a thumbs up to the camera right now if you're also a busy person? You've got a lot on. Yeah, okay, right. Some of you have your email open in the other screen right now, and I do not judge that. I respect that. That's fine. Some laughs there. One of the things that the college dean said, she said, Josh, I'm a busy person. I said, of course, I understand that. She said, you know what I'm going to do with this white paper? I'm going to print it out to 10 copies. I'm going to give it to my incoming student leaders. I'm going to lock them in a room for an hour. Now, they can escape if they like, right? Fair enough. Give them snacks. And I'm going to have them read this. I'm going to have them read what are the biggest issues facing residential colleges in the country and what are the best of the best doing to solve it. I'm going to have them read it, discuss it, debate it, and they can leave the room when they come up with one new idea to make college better next year. I said, I love that. I love that. If your college leaders can read this, understand what's going on around the country, and I'll use college and residence interchangeably, but just so I don't have to caveat it each time, I'll stick with the language of colleges. If your students can read it, get some great insights from it, that's amazing. Okay, so what's actually involved? Let's run through it really quickly, and I'm going to direct you to a very specific page in just a moment as we prompted. Share my screen. Here we go. So first and foremost, I would really like to thank, and I think it's most important that we thank the contributors. So 16 different contributors, 13 of which are current leaders involved in residences and accommodation at the moment. Some of them are on the call right now. So a huge thank you for your time. These leaders, some of which we've worked with for a number of years, and some of which I'd never met before. I reached out on LinkedIn to some of you are here today, and asked for 30 minutes of your time to basically figure out, are you experiencing this issue like we're experiencing in residential colleges and accommodation, that you've got great leaders and they're burning out? If you are, what are the specific challenges? Where does that come from? And then what can we do about it? Now, of course, we didn't just speak to staff about student issues, even though this is for staff primarily. We also reached out to three amazing students. So Polly over at Mannix College at Monash University, Victoria at my old college, Vassar College at UNSW, and then Abby, who's the current NORC president, which is really, really exciting. So we spoke to the students about their student perspectives, and they're scattered throughout. So if I scroll down, I'd just love to give you a little bit of an insight here. I really like this first quote, and all the challenges you'll notice in the white paper were anonymized. So we didn't want any blowback on colleges. That the idea of blowback is something that we cover in the white paper. But we did want to name some of the challenges. One of the things that I thought was really interesting here was this really nailed the problem. If students feel like they burn out, they become apathetic, and they'd say, what's the point of even trying? We cannot build the most supportive student communities if student leaders are burning out, they're not standing up for what their students need, and then they give up. And in some colleges and some interviews from across the country, there are even cases where entire executive teams of colleges step down in the middle of the year and weren't able to support the college after that. So that's the issue we're trying to solve. So let's scroll down and look at some of the challenges. So 6 big challenges were identified. First one was unclear expectations. So not understanding what the role was or what the boundaries of the role was. The biggest thing I heard in interviews across the country was, what are the boundaries? What is not in my scope? What is in my scope? Is that very clear? That was number one. Second thing, training challenge. As was pointed out, often, if not always, I think there is some training, but when is that training? Often there's a big load right at the front, and a principal described that to me once as the learn fast and fail method of training, which is pretty well backed up in the research. And instead, we recommend throughout the white paper ongoing training throughout the year, so it's not all at once. You don't eat 7 dinners on Monday night. You eat dinner once on Monday. You come again Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday. So the training challenge. When do we do training? Is it internal, external, that sort of thing? Third challenge, limited structured support. So lots of love for college leaders and student leaders, but how are they supported, and is that formal? Number 4, role value and recognition. So do students understand the value of their role? Are they appreciated? And specifically, are they appreciated in a way that they would appreciate the most, if that makes sense? Number 5, succession challenges. What we hear, especially this time of the year, the outgoing student leadership team gets to a point where they're absolutely exhausted, they leave, and instead of succession planning, they do replacement planning. They find someone else to take the role so they can get out of there. So how do you avoid that? And number 6, the emotional load. The idea that students felt like they were wearing 2 hats at once. And there's a really nice quote in here by Jimmy, which I absolutely love. If you're eating dinner in the dining hall, you're not eating dinner in the dining hall. You're the president eating dinner in the dining hall. And it's really hard to separate yourself from that position. So what does that look like? Now, We know that all these things are part of student leadership. So the majority of the white paper, once we get to the bottom of page 4, we stop looking at the challenges and we spend pages looking at the solutions. So six big solutions that we went through, that we go through in the white paper around clarifying those expectations, doing ongoing training, introducing structured support, etc., etc. They're all involved here in the white paper. Now, I won't pretend to read this to you because I read the whole thing and recorded it this morning, and I know for a fact it takes 35 minutes and 12 seconds to read, so I'm not going to do that today, but I just wanted to share with you a little bit of a snapshot of what's inside. Now, as we get a little bit further down, and you can read through the quotes from different people, I saw Annie on the call today. Hi, Annie. Lots of different people who shared the insights and the things that they worked. Some of them get really, really specific. If you're in the Melbourne colleges, you might be familiar with a concept. For example, I'll scroll down and show you one. If you're in the Melbourne colleges, you might be familiar with the idea of Get Your Life in Order Week, or as students refer to it as Gilio Week. And a lot of the Melbourne colleges know that. Basically, no events, no meetings, no emails for a week. Some of us in our workplaces think Sam's eyebrows just went up. You're like, oh, that would be nice. And for other colleges, they go, oh, I've never thought about that before. So there are some really tactical, specific things that you could experiment with. And the way I'd encourage you to go through the white papers or have conversations with your teams around some of the solutions here, again, it takes half an hour to read or listen to. If you're not doing it, is there a good reason you're not doing it? And if so, that's good. If you're not doing it and you've just never thought of it before, okay, that's like food for fodder. You can have a conversation about that. And is there a challenge in here that you think, you know what, I actually think our college, our residents, I think we solve that in a really unique way. We might even solve that in an even better way. In which case, please reach out and let me know. We're going to talk about future white papers in a moment. So lots of solutions, lots of interviews, everything shared throughout the white paper in there. Cool. Next thing, where do we go from here? So one of the things at the end, Ari from Ormond ended our interview with a really nice question. He said, how do you authentically and genuinely meet students halfway to ensure they see themselves as partners in the leadership of the college? A big thing that a lot of staff stressed in the interviews was it's not handing over the college to the students. It's we're professionals in a position to support students and set them up for success. How do we best do that? How do we truly create students as partners within colleges? And so to have those conversations, we also included 6 questions for discussion. I haven't written it here, but the 6 questions go towards the 6 challenges and the 6 stages of the solution. So they're all there in the white paper. Now, many of you I know on the back end have downloaded the white paper and might be browsing over it and reading over it. I know it's not a lot of time to take it right in, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of the structure. So to summarize, at the top, big thanks and a huge thanks for everybody who contributed. A little bit of context around where the white paper comes from, 6 big challenges, 6 solutions, all informed by interviews, and then some questions that accompany the white paper at the end. Now, that's a lot of me talking at you, and we've only got 16 minutes left. So what I'd love to do is to throw it over to questions. So would anyone like to raise any questions? If you were interviewed, maybe make a comment. I know some of the contributing authors are here today as well. So you might have read over the white paper this morning when I circulated it and thought, oh, I have a really good question for Carolyn down at Lincoln. I have a really good question for Catherine over at Queen's or Annie at JCH. So does anyone have a question, comment, anything they're wondering about? You might still be like, Josh, what the heck is a white paper? Some of you I haven't met, you might be like, who are you again? I don't think I've even introduced myself. Any questions?
I'll just make a comment. Thank you,
Thanks, Annie.
Josh, for putting this together because it is quite an undertaking. And when you think about residential colleges across Australia, there's probably lots of different ways to solve lots of different problems. So it was really a pleasure to have the conversation with you and I, but then to read the paper and get some insight into how other people are doing things. Because sometimes we don't have the time, as you said, are you busy? Thumbs up. You don't have the time to share or reach out. Or sometimes you do reach out and the person you're reaching out to doesn't have time to get back to you. So this has been really lovely to get things all together in relation to something we are all concerned about, and that's the well-being and the welfare of our student leaders who put themselves forward and put themselves out there, and how can we support them. So thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Annie. I appreciate it. Lovely to catch up with you as well. One of the things that we'll be doing at the end of today as well is sharing a quick little feedback form. One of the things we'd love to know is if after today, this community of people would like to stay connected. So two of the things we're going to do is create a little LinkedIn group chat, which you can turn the notifications off, so it won't ping and buzz you. As a group, a way for this group of people to stay connected. Maybe in a week or so, you check in after you've read the white paper. Second thing we're going to do is make an offer to do a peer-to-peer little mentoring network for everybody here. So if you'd like to opt into that after today, our team will just randomly introduce you to someone a month from now. And that's for accountability. That's for, okay, Josh, I came to the event. I'm actually going to read the white paper. And then in a month, I'm going to sit down with someone from across the country. And I know we've got an international audience here as well. So welcome, some in New Zealand, some in the UK. I'm going to sit down with someone in a month and have a conversation about what I learned, what I read, what I like, where to go from here. So, a couple of ways to build on those relationships after today as well. Nice. Any other questions, comments? Maybe if someone's joining us today who wasn't interviewed for the white paper, I'd love to hear from you. Why did you choose to jump on this call, on this launch event today, and what are you hoping to get out of reading this white paper?
I'm happy to respond to that one, Josh. Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Mara.
guess because I spoke to you just last week and you told me about it, and I think it's while I don't work in the area of accommodation, we do care for we have pastoral care meetings once a week, and we talk about our students who are there, and on occasion, and more often, we're getting those student leaders who are also facing mental health challenges, etc., in their roles as a consequence of their roles, and of course everything else they're doing and study, etc. So it's a great opportunity to have a look at the paper and to be able to share it with our accommodation people and our wellbeing team as to how we might be able to help these students long term.
Thanks, Mara. And that's a really nice angle there, I think, of if you read the white paper and you nod along, you might hire somebody new next week. So can you raise your hand, please, if you have a team of people that you work with in college or in your residence? If it's not just you, it's a whole bunch of other people. Okay, great. So it might be something if you're the sort of person in your network who reads white papers, goes to events, does networking, attends APSA, all those sorts of things. If you're that person, there might be other people you work with who don't necessarily do that, and you might be the conduit of the insights and the wisdom from this collective group to them. So if you hire somebody new next week, next month, next year, my hope is this might be one thing that is a way to understand that position of students and potentially how to support them. So that's really nice. Keep an eye out as well for Mara. We're actually working on three white papers at the moment. This is the first. We're doing one with mentoring programs and one with clubs. I know I love sleeping and not working. And so Mara is contributing to our clubs white paper, which we've done about a dozen interviews all over the country now with different people who are in the clubs and societies space. And there might be some really interesting parallels there for the colleges that do have a student club. And I know, say, there's some examples here from Trinity and the likes who have lots of actual formalized student clubs within the college. So there could be some good crossover there, but we'll keep you posted. Okay, cool. 11 minutes left. I know some of you are eating and enjoying lunch. That's great. That's great. So please don't feel obliged to speak up or share. But we've got time for maybe one more question before we move on to the next part of the launch event. Anyone else have a comment, a question? Jordan, I see you nodding along there from up at Grace College. I'd love to know if you're open to sharing a little bit. We had a little bit of conversation over LinkedIn about, coming to the launch event today. What are you hoping to get out of reading the white paper, or how do you think you might utilize it in your work or in your college moving forward?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Josh. I think like I'm just really curious to see how other colleges also have their approaches to student leadership. I'm still relatively new to the world of colleges in terms of being a staff member. I lived on campus as a student for 4 years and was heavily involved in leadership then, but it's a much different way of looking at things when you're behind the scenes. And I feel very fortunate to have been to be in a position where I'm mentoring a lot of our student leaders at the moment and building up those programs. So what I'm hoping to get out of it is to just really uh, yeah, get some things to be proactive, especially as we go into next year now, about how we can support our student leaders, and things like setting that culture up early. At the moment, one of the big conversations that I'm having with our student leaders is around succession planning. And
Right.
unfortunately, I feel like there is a lot of people who are already in the boat of just trying to uh, tie as many loose ends together before they wrap up. And so yeah, looking at how we can support them ongoing throughout the year to not only do their role but also then hand it over well is something that I'm really keen on hopefully learning out of this white paper.
Cool. Awesome. And one of the things too, I think by having a lot of people here today and some of the follow-ups, if people want to jump in a group chat or do some peer-to-peer work, with the author or the contributors to the white paper, I checked all, so just so everyone who wasn't involved, once we did the interviews, I sent the quotes back for approval and made some little edits and got explicit permission for specific quotes in specific areas to be attributed to specific people. So I would take the leap and believe if you are reading the succession planning bit and you get a really good insight there. Matt and Mon shared some really cool stuff about how they do succession planning at ACU, for example, that the names of the staff members are attached to the quote in the section. So a proactive way to perhaps read the different sections is if there's a bit that you really like and you see that Catherine over at Queens is doing something amazing, or I see Margie here in the team at JCH. Obviously, we interviewed Annie for the paper, but the whole team there. If you see something at that's being really done really well in a particular place, to reach out. That most pretty much everyone is on LinkedIn. They're using their full name. They're using their college like they have here. So I really hope that's a way that this can be helpful. Okay, cool. 8 minutes left today. Can you give me a smiley face in the chat if you're with me for 8 more minutes? I'm a big believer that things should end on time, so I want to make sure I hit that for you. But smiley face in the chat if you're still with me for 8 more minutes. This is my little student facilitation trick just to see if anyone's on YouTube or TikTok. But it's your lunch break, so you do you. No pressure there. Thank you all for being here. Okay, cool. So, a couple of things. Where to from here? I said there were some bonuses and some giveaways today, so I want to make sure we hit on that. And of course, it wouldn't be a launch event without a feedback survey. It's the first time we've done this, so we want to give you a couple of minutes to let you know about the structure. Okay, cool. So, how do we support? I love that Jordan mentioned planning for next year. I know that that's something that's happening at this time. It's massive, and most of our work is leaning into the training perspective. So I want to share with you a little bit, if you are thinking about planning for training next year, how I could potentially help you with that. If you've got it all sorted or you don't do external training, that's great. But I want to share with you how we think about it and what we're presenting at the moment, and then we'll jump into the feedback form and do some of the peer stuff. So a couple of ways that hopefully we can support if you are looking at that space. So we've put together an offer, a 12-month residential student leadership growth package specifically for colleges and residents to help your student leaders be set up for success. As you'll read in the white paper, it's not all about training. It's one of the 6 elements. But if you are looking to level up that training and put more support for students, this is what we're offering at the moment if this is of interest. So first thing is 2 full days of leadership intensives. It could be in an L week end of year style training, start of next year, middle of next year. We found middle of the year training is a new really popular thing. So 2 full training days, normally 9 grand to do, included in this package. Second, 4 online leadership labs. So leadership labs are what we call single topic trainings throughout the year. Big call for training was it not to be all at once, but to sprinkle it throughout the year. So on Jordan's point of succession planning, a lot of the training we do at this time of year is to do a one-off succession planning workshop. So we've done a couple of those just in the last couple of weeks. So that could be a really good example there. Third thing, we have our Campus Consultancy Academy. It's all hyperlinked here. I'll share this with you after today. And I'll even put the chat link to this in the chat. So if you do want to check that out, let me just do that right now. Link in the chat. It's all public on the web. There we go. Should have popped that in the chat earlier. Done. So our Campus Consultancy Academy has a whole bunch of short courses on there for students and for leaders to go through. It's normally $60 a head per student. So for up to 300 students, that's 18 grand worth of courses freely available to build a pipeline of leaders. Why that's been appealing is it's not just the current leaders, but it's the future leaders that we want to upskill. Next thing we've added in, one of the big things in support was regular check-ins. So quarterly check-ins, at least sort of that start and middle and end of semester, each semester, normally 2.5 grand included in this package. So when all of this is put together, as well as we've included here the book, we launched a book on the weekend as well. It's just become an Amazon best-selling book, Lessons from 100,000 Student Leaders, including 300 copies of that for 4.5 grand worth of value. So if you put all of that together, it's about 40 grand worth of services normally if it was bought individually. And for this community, we're offering it all inclusive for an investment of 15,300. So if you are looking to add some training, do some check-ins, do some catch-ups, and grab a couple hundred copies of a book that at least Amazon says is worth having a read, that's the offer for the community at the moment. This is completely separate to the white paper. If you'd just like to download the white paper, you can do that today. But just so you know, if you are looking at investing in a little bit more training throughout the year, that is included there. And if you are thinking about doing this and you want to lock it in before the end of October, I'll also throw in a $500 gift card to absolutely anywhere of your choosing that you can use for your end of year celebrations. So that's an offer there. In the feedback form from today, if you'd like to have a conversation about this or any of the training we provide, just tick the box. I'll reach out and we can have a chat. But just so you know, we wanted to offer something that's got a few little discounts for this community. All right. Last thing we want to do before we wrap up today is I'd love to share with you what's going to be in the feedback form and then share it with you to complete very quickly. So I'll just copy the responder link to this feedback form over. And this is where, if you'd like to get involved after today, you can. So the first thing we'd like to know is, are you open to being contacted for a future white paper? So Jordan, for example, we didn't get you in on this white paper. If you'd like to be involved in future white paper and future topics, just click yes there. Second thing we'd love to know a little bit further down is any feedback. How can we make sure these launch events more valuable? I picked 30 minutes. Is that long enough? Is it too long? Is it not long enough? Let me know. First thing, would you like to be involved in a LinkedIn group chat with everyone else from today? If you would, just say yes. Would you like to be involved in the peer mentoring conversation? So we'll pair you up with someone else from today to have a conversation. Say yes if you'd like to be involved there. No cost for any of this stuff. Would you like to talk about training? So if you'd like me to reach out, have a conversation with you about training needs over the next year, just say yes there, or no if you don't need me to reach out, just let me know. Fourth, would you like our team to mail you a copy? So we'll print off a copy and send the white paper to you so you can have a physical copy in your hands. If so, just say yes. Number five, would you like to be featured in our top professional voices? So we create articles that highlight the staff that we work with all across the country. So for example, here's Steph. We grab a couple of photos, ask a few interview questions, and instead of interviewing you about a topic like burnout in colleges, we just do an interview about you, all the amazing things you're doing, all the awards you're winning, and give you a free little magazine article. So if you'd like our team to reach out and create a little bit of like promo for you and all the cool things you're doing, just click yes there, and my wife and partner in business, Steph, will reach out and sort of write you a little magazine article. Number six, completely free, complimentary. Would you like a copy of the book? So just put out the book, Lessons from 100,000 Student Leaders. I don't know if it'll show up here. There we go. So just hit Amazon bestselling on the weekend and was a hot new release in the entire category of self-help for leadership. So I just got ahead of Oprah, Trump, Brene Brown, Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, and a few other people, if only for a few hours. I was ahead of old Trumpy. So if you'd like a free copy of that, click yes. And if you'd like any additional copies sent through for your team or your student leaders, we'll do them at a discounted rate. Just let me know how many down below. And if you buy the whole package, they're included anyway. Other than that, just let me know your name and email, and an address where you'd like the white paper and the copy sent to. So if you're up for it, we'd love to get your feedback on today. I've put that link there in the chat. Matt, congrats on the book. Oh, thank you so much. Mike just bought the book. Oh, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Link is there in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, before this session ends, we've got about a minute to get you out of here on time. If you could open that link in the chat, let me know what you thought about today. We'd love to get your feedback on the white paper. Let me know if you'd like to be involved in the future. And for those who were involved, Catherine, Carolyn, many others who are here today, Annie, Monique, if you'd like to be involved in the future, just tick yes. We'd love to reach out to you again. But other than that, I'll give you a moment or so to open up that link. And I don't have anywhere to go to straight at 1 o'clock, but I understand some people might need to jet off. So if you do, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the white paper. And if you can stay around for a few minutes, if you'd like to chat, please feel free to do that as well. Just keep me posted. Otherwise, it is 1 o'clock, so that will be a formal end of the event. Thank you for joining. I hope you got your copy of the white paper. Please let me know in that feedback form if you'd like a copy sent to you or any of the free little bonuses if you'd like to get in on the community. But otherwise, I'll leave that there in the background. Thanks everyone for joining. And if you've got a little bit more time and you'd like to hang around and have a chat for 10 minutes, please feel free. The floor is yours. No pressure either. If everyone's got a jet, that's completely cool.
Thanks so much, Josh. We'll definitely
Thanks,
be
Jordan.
in touch soon. I've got to run off now, but thank you
Awesome.
so much for this. It was great.
Thanks, Jordan. Chat soon. Awesome. See you later. Bye, Margie. And Carolyn, hello. I'll stop the recording now. I'll just say hi and bye, or if you've got some time to chat.